now. Kaboom. Live and alive. Once again with Arthur. Always a pleasure, an honor, a privilege to sit with you and hear your perspective. Like I said, it's not up to me to put the show on. It's up to you. So you're my guest. So definitely I want to hear your perspective tonight, Arthur. Uh, I always say Arthur in French. I always did it. I
I
don't know
like
why,
it.
but
I like it.
yeah. I always say Arthur. I never go like Arthur or something. Arthur.
I like
I say it
Jean-Nic
in
too.
French. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's it. Tonight I want to start with life and what is the ultimate goal of being alive. Okay, let me just go with my thinking. I'll express it, and then you can go on with your perspective. I think there is something with life that can become very boring. Life can become very boring if you don't take full responsibility for your life, because now you will be stuck in boredom. Boredom can become a hell for us, definitely. When you're bored, it's very detrimental for you, and especially if you know that you are bored. If you don't know you're bored and you're caught up in the matrix and system and you're in distraction, and for you that's a life being distracted, you might not notice that you are bored because you've been programmed to be distracted. But once you realize the distraction are rampant and that's all there is in this world, pretty much, and you engage in it, you're gonna find yourself bored often by those distractions, board games, board sports, professional sports. All this is very irrelevant at one
Mm.
point. If you
Mm.
don't take full responsibility for your life, you will engage in that kind of stuff. If you start taking full responsibility or a bit of responsibility, now you're gonna detach yourself from distraction, but also you will find yourself very lonely in this world. You will feel lonely because not many people engage themselves in that path of evolution. So, what is the ultimate? Are we like, I was reading your post and you were saying we are caregivers of the earth. Like, what is our role here? If it's obviously not to be distracted, we should be on track. We should be doing something great with our life, each and every one of us. We should have express our voice, express our divinity, our uniqueness. All this should not be bottled up, but we keep it inside. We do not express nothing, and we engage in an endless sea of distraction, and it can
Mm.
be like very very, it's your suicide in real time, like
Mm.
spiritual suicide. I call it that way because that's what it is. Like, I don't know really what spirituality is. Honestly, to me, I'm here on earth alive. Now, don't talk to me about all these words, spiritual and all this. Like, I get very,
Mm.
I'm here, I'm alive. All I know is that I breathe and I'm alive. The rest, I don't know nothing. So I'm seeking the truth within. Now, will it where I find the truth within, or will I find the truth outside of myself? Because I find myself often being distracted, being absorbed by nonsense. Everyone does. We're all deeply compromised, like you told me once. So, how
Mm.
do we go about finding not a meaning, but a significance to our life? How do we make our life significant enough that we feel uplifted and we feel like we're evolving and not devolving?
Mm.
I don't know if I put the
No,
picture.
no, I get it,
It's
and
pretty
it
big
is
picture, but I would like your perspective on that. What is the ultimate goal of being on Earth?
being
That's what I've
free
been
to create,
reflecting on.
being
Like, why are
free
we
to
here?
create.
If most of us are caught up in distraction.
Well, it's being
Go
free
ahead,
to
Arthur,
create
Tony.
our unique dreams of life, and that can't be done through being defined by other people telling us how to think and feel, getting in our heads while we're observing life and saying, "Oh, that's a daffodil and that's yellow," and giving us a script, whether it's science or not. And when you compound that by multi thousands of these definitions and scripts, these are not our dreams. We've never created any of these dreams. And so we become enslaved and disconnected from actually who we are, because we're not able to create our dreams. Because the only way we can create our real dreams of life that are unique is to be brought up by nature. So that is the most important thing here, because we're talking from the perspective of being in the system and watching, the river of chaos flowing under the bridge, which we're standing over and observing everyone, including us, trapped underneath, we're flowing underneath it, all that harm doing. We are, from that perspective, I talk about since 2005, that what's most important is allowing children to be free to create their unique dreams of life. We can't do that for them. And when we define children, when we educate them and put them through everything, now these themes already through all our videos, there's a lot of this that we've covered. But the ultimate is to allow the true freedom of a child through their direct sensory experience, through touch, taste, feel, smell, hear, see. Allow a child to interact with life, and so that the superintelligence, all that information comes to the child and stimulates and evokes the real life of the child, which is the soul, because the dream that the child creates through those experiences is who we are. But we're stopped from doing that because we're being defined through fiction. So the ultimate is to be free of fiction. So all the read and write alphabets are fiction. You can't go to nature to experience alphabets and talk to them. You can only go to a man who acts as the alphabets, right? A third party, And so the whole of the system of fiction is all about representing fiction. So even now, you and I are talking, we're talking in fiction. It's not who we really are. So the only way through that is to sense each other's intentions. If we can sense it, we will know that we're not caught up in the scripts of what we're talking. We're feeling. Anyone can feel where we're really coming from. And when we're feeling, we're getting a bigger picture about the man, about the communication. So when children are brought up by nature, undefined, we don't disturb them as they observe. They're getting a big picture because there's so much superintelligence coming into as the child to evoke the child. And the child can sense. So basically, instead of the child looking at the life form, oh, that's a daffodil and yellow, which is disconnecting from the life form. The child can't sense the information coming from the life form into the life of the child, the man, us. We're in communion with the reality. Now, this is at the heart of all our problems. So the greatest ultimate thing that can happen is to allow children to be brought up by nature again. Now, the thing is to remember this. All of life, all of Earth, nature, is doing an incredible job. It doesn't go to school to learn alphabets. It doesn't need to be educated about fiction. Like when a dog comes up to us and comes and smell our butts for the first time, the information it gets from those few sniffs, you couldn't put it in all the libraries because it's such a big picture. Now, there's no alphabets involved. And that's why I say through a lot of our work that you don't need to take a child to a tree and explain the tree to the child before the child can experience the tree. The child's already experiencing it. If we don't interfere, the child will form a unique relationship with the tree and with every life form, if we keep things undefined. So the system where things are no longer ultimate about our true freedom and true who we are basically the constructs and concepts, the definitions are prisons, Janik. They're prisons. And we form a personality out of them, which we talked about in other videos, relying on the memory of all the definitions we've accumulated as memory that becomes the person. And that person is the vessel we set sail into the seas of commerce of a dream world, which is not ours. We never create any of it. But who is behind this dream world of the system where we're sailing as the person, going from business, from commerce to commerce to commerce to commerce. And our head is spinning all the time from all those layers and layers of education, of all those definitions. We don't even know who we are, what we are. And the consequences of that means that if we can't sense anymore the true purpose of a living thing that's sharing its life with us in the moment, in the here and now, as a constant, we're capable of observing a mountain with the scripts in our head coming from history, a history that put us through into university, where we can't see the living purpose of every living thing of the mountain. And we can go in there and rip it open, put a highway through it, take the minerals, extract it out of it, destroying all kinds of life forms that have a purpose, a natural purpose. And collectively, from that big picture, it gives us the wholeness or the synergy of life itself, where our true health is at its optimum. But when we corrupt life around us because we can't sense anymore, and we think we're doing the right thing by going in and wrecking and destroying it, or going and conquering tribes and transforming children into blue collars and white collars and slave laborers and that, to become part of the machine of the system, where they don't even have their dreams, they don't even know who they are, what they are, and they're automatons, which is all what we were brought up to. So we work as bank tellers, and we work as accountants, and we work as lawyers, and we work in cleaning the streets. So there's all the jobs we do. Now, this to me is the river of chaos that's flowing under the bridge, because there's so much disconnect from what we are part of. We no longer know the true purpose of living things. So we commit slander, we commit fraud by relying on the scripts that were explained to us about what we're observing from others who told us how to think and feel about them. And that's all we are ever doing. We spend our whole life representing fiction, because fiction can't do anything of itself. It has no life. Again, we've talked about this in other videos. Imagine a dead corpse laying on the ground, and you want to animate that dead body. Well, you have to go to that dead body. You've got to pick it up, move its arms, wag its legs, move its head, use its tongue, do everything for it, because it can't do anything. And then if you want to animate that for a whole lifetime, then you're going to be very busy, distracted, and confused performing this fiction. Now, that fiction is your birth certificate. That fiction is the accumulated her story of all the definitions you've accumulated, where you've been told how to think and feel. But none of it is your dream. It's not your real life. So it's a fiction. So we're performing this fiction. Like I said in the other video, hi, I'm Arthur, I'm an Australian, I have a Greek background, and I'm this and that. But all of this is not my dream. It's borrowed, it's mimicked, it's copied. It's not who we are. And in that unconsciousness, we're capable of doing the most extreme harm. The most extreme harm. And it is here where the optimum is required, where we allow who we really are to return to direct sensory experience with life itself, so that full responsibility is in place. Now, we've touched on this in other videos, but I'll talk about this again. Full responsibility is the super intelligence embodied in all of life that we have access to. And it's where we form our true consciousness from. Because we're no longer remembering from the fictions and like a potato set, putting it over the life and that explains everything to us, which keeps us in darkness. We are receiving all the intelligence from all of life in the here and now that we are responding to faster than the speed of thought, faster than the speed of light. It's that quick. And all of nature does this. All of nature, inanimate or not, from the biggest, greatest mountains to the tiniest, minuscule living things, they're all doing it. They're all part of this collective big picture. And it's in that super intelligence that we are naturally, if we're allowed to, create our unique dreams. where that full responsibility happens because we would never seek to do harm to what we are part of. It's like when we live local, we know everyone close to us locally in a tribal village, even if the tribe is nomadic, where those connections makes it hard for us to want to cross the line to do harm to someone else in the tribe. It's very hard. But when we are so shut down and lost in the constructs and we're animating fiction, because everything of system life is us animating fiction, because it's everything from plastic, steel, electronics, AI, you name it. It's a man behind it performing and acting it. Even if it appears to have some kind of freedom, it's still a man behind it with the software and the alphabets and all that sort of stuff that we've talked about, right? Going back to the previous part 14 of this video series. So that full responsibility is holding such a big picture of life that we were allowed to create uniquely, brought up by nature, undefined, where we would never seek to do harm to what we are, because there's no separation between who we are and life itself, because we are life. Everything's life. And the system where we fall into limited responsibility because we no longer sense the purpose of every living thing. And because we've withdrawn from that super intelligence, what people call it God, you can call it whatever you like, it's just a true consciousness that gives us a moral compass, a natural conscience, where it just stops us from wanting to do harm or even pursue doing things with fiction that leads to so much harm doing, because fiction, it was a life form, or all life forms that we had to destroy to turn them into dead things that we have to animate. And the whole of the system is fiction. And then we all sit there and complain about what's going wrong, all the decay, and you can see everything going on with rallies, sickness is increasing, hospitals, big pharmaceutical drug, because the alphabet languages and all the constructs and concepts are fiction. We've pulled away from full responsibility, so we're not caring anymore for what we are. And under that limited responsibility, we pass the buck. Now, the limited responsibility is brought on by the memory of the accumulation of all that was defined to us that we used to formulate the personality, the identity of that fiction we are representing, performing for. Like you and I are talking right now in this alphabet language of English, we're performing it. But all it is just another man and woman in our heads, voices in our heads that we've remembered. And we have brought it all together to form structured language and communication. All of this is AI. It's not real. It's not our true tongue. Do you follow?
Okay,
So that limited responsibility.
Arthur,
I was just going to just bear with me. The limited responsibility is when we don't take any more responsibility about all the harm we're causing, because we passed it over to the fiction that we are representing, and all the others are in our heads acting as the fictions from authority administrators, from experts and everything else in the system, where everything's structured by rules and regulations, rituals, procedures, conditions, contracts, etc., lifestyles, gender, you name it. All of that is now limited because we're caught up in that at the price of disconnecting from the superintelligence of life itself. So that is full responsibility descended to limited responsibility, where there is no resistance to stop all this harm at a scale that's beyond still most people's present comprehension of what we're doing. So to finish this thing, the optimum, greatest thing we is to get back to really creating our real, unique, original dreams of life. Because out of that, I call it kingdom without the G in it. Some people think this is a cult. It's not a cult. Where we live in local villages, taking full responsibility for our lives and making sure that none of that is happening anymore. All the harm doing stops. Now, where everyone else who does it, we spread out this local everywhere across Earth again. we will start to restore a true paradise, and nature will respond, and all the beauty of nature that's been oppressed and repressed and denied and rejected, from all the fiction, all the highways and skyscrapers and cities and concrete and plastic and steel and the progress of civilization, all this sort of rubbish, which is all we're witnessing is death to life, because that's all fiction can do, is death to life, death to who we are, death to you, death to everyone around us. So that's the greatest thing we can do, is to get back to that true spirit, the real one, where the soul, the living soul of the man that we have each uniquely created. And I stress the point, no one can create the soul for any of us. The only ones who can create the soul is the one who in the vessel of that life. So I'm the only one who can create that soul. No one else can create the soul for this man. And I don't want to be hijacked. I don't want to be taken over and be pirated by other people who want to take control of the helm of this man's life. And I'm sailing the vessel in de facto by proxy, by other people telling me what life is and what I'm about, what my purpose is, when I should get up, what I should do, and on it goes. It's so regimented. This is why people feel so much about things aren't right, but they can't put their finger on them. They dot the I and cross the T's. So that's the ultimate thing, Johnny, recreating the
Okay.
soul.
I went to school. I learned languages just like you. We speak languages. I speak words. I find myself speaking words that have been put in my head. I didn't came here. Like the mess was already here before I got here. I got here. It was already about that. So now, where is real wisdom? That's my question. And where can we hope to attain real wisdom if all the books, all the libraries, everything in the system is fiction, which I agree, because that's not where I feel that this is sustaining life, that system. So where can we hope to find true, real wisdom? Is it only found in nature, by observation, by introspection, by calming the chatter inside and just go in nature and sit under a tree and start thinking and observing, and then things will start to flow within me and I will get all the answers I'm looking for, the divine answers. And you know, it's a bit the representation we had with Buddha, I think, sitting under a tree or something, and then all the divine knowledge came. And so, can we hope with a great link? I don't use the word connection, a great link with nature and divine, that one day we will reach real wisdom. Not in books. I'm not talking reading books and endless reading of books and literature, but just real wisdom. Now I'm using a language, the word wisdom, to define wisdom that wouldn't be defined with a word. I get it, but that's what we have to talk to each other. So I have no choice to use the word wisdom now. And I think we know what it signifies, wisdom, together, so we can maybe extrapolate on the real wisdom and where it's found. And because there's a lot of chatter inside before getting to that divine wisdom.
If
A
there
lot of
was
men
really,
and women inside my head too.
if there was a real truth, now you think about this. We've had messiahs and saviors in our history. We've had all the progress of civilization with all the advancements, all the brilliant brains of science and engineering, technology, right into AI today. You go back through everything that has been provided, all through a defined reality. You would think that if there was one truth, just one truth, you would think by word of mouth passed down through the generations, we would all be living in an absolute paradise today. But that ain't the case. And from the perspective of where this man's coming from, I dismiss everything of that his story or her story, that history. Because when you're a child and you've been defined and you're observing your parents and they're telling you that's communication and that's how freedom is, and explaining what joy is and explaining what happiness is and explaining what spirituality is and explaining every aspect of what life is, all of that is still not true. It ain't real because you ain't living it. All you're left with is imagining it, practicing the animation of the fiction for your personality. and you call that a happiness, but it's a contrived happiness. It's not a real happiness. It's not a true joy. It's not a true freedom. It's not a true consciousness. Like you can't go into a bookstore and there's a book on consciousness. Oh, there's a book on freedom, and there's a book on joy and all that, and you go and sit there and start reading it, and all you're doing is imagining, and being in the conversations of that, but you're actually not living it because you have not uniquely created being that. The creativity of life itself, when you're busy, like the bee to the hive and the ant to the colony and the birds to the flock, when we're busy being the real creativity of life, because that's what life is, it's just creativity, and we're busy in that, a natural joy is there, a natural happiness is there, a natural freedom is there. It's already there, happening. So we don't have to jump 10 foot across the room to grab our next breath, because it's already there. So we don't have to be worried about it because it's already taken care of, because the sun is shining. Earth's producing abundance, magnificence if we don't interfere. And if we don't interfere with children, their natural creativity of doing no harm to life, and it will make them become the custodians under full responsibility to nurture life, to care for life, to expand life without doing harm to anything of life. This gets us back to being naked in the Garden of Eden as an analogy here, but that kind of purity and sincerity is undefined. So to restore what is really truly naturally built into all of us, we've got to give up all the animation that we're performing on behalf of the fiction that we represent as the ID, as the person in law, right, as the agent in commerce, where you use the name and you sign the signature in every aspect of commercial life, right? When we stop all this, we don't need anyone else telling us how to think and feel, because the full seat of power is already built into each of us. And with that true consciousness that we are of life itself, undefined, we will have no interest in wanting to pursue doing harm or make a lifestyle of constantly doing harm to life and say it's normal and it's acceptable. It's an acceptable form of harm, hence mining, except from prostitution to homelessness and, haves and have-nots and first and last and rich and poor and left and right and wrong. And, all this sort of stuff, all this duality stuff going on in every aspect of system life. So again, when we give up, when we truly wake up and remember, and the only way we can do this is, it's not even listening to me and talking, it's not going to do anything. But if you can get the sense of where I'm coming from, it's to recreate small villages and be brought up in nature and living amongst nature where all that oppression ends. It truly ends. Because you have to remember this, that the whole of system life is not our dream. And regardless of the pixelations, all the tiny little details of thousands and thousands of definitions that formulates the system, not even one tiny bit of it is our dream. And who we are is not there, because all of it is dead. All of it is fiction that we are animating while we remain dead as to who we are, because we're no longer conscious of what we're doing. We don't know where the line is drawn, where we stop the harm and don't cross that line to do harm to others. So, that limited responsibility that we touched on before, that is what allows harm, that river of harm, to flow under the bridge that we're standing on top and observing as it's going on before us. You see, so if we want to stop all of this, we have to pull back to something local and use the system to get out of the system, use the fiction to get out of the fiction. But you need a bigger picture. And this is where all the remedy work comes into place with what we're doing with community. We build the infrastructure of a real community where the power of the community provides everything for the community and where everybody knows each other. But this stuff is not played out. All the emotional stuff, what's in it for me, all the narcissism, all the doubt and the uncertainty that makes us want to cling to something for security. when we work with that good heart, we already have security. Like I said, you don't have to jump 10 foot across the room to grab your next breath. It's already taken care of. And when you can live like that, with every way in your life, you start to let go of all the animation, all the pretense, all the contrived that we formulated for the personality that we became us as that fiction, that performing commerce in the system of fiction, where the tiny few have been given all the power of authority as administrators to administrate every aspect of your commercial life in the system. Because again, it's not your dream. It's not who you are. It's what you are anymore. So returning to local and starting to undo this damage. And this is where I operate as a wisdom keeper, as Fiona, for those who want to be part of a community where we recreate this to make sure that that freedom does thrive naturally, that the happiness does thrive. And wherever that animation appears amongst us, we've got to knock it on the head. Because the confusion is very, very powerful. It's deeply, deeply confusing. They don't know where fiction ends and where the real one happens. And that emotion, E-motion, can cause paranoia, psychosis. It can cause all kinds of stuff. It's coming from the past, projected in the future to control the here and now. It's actually not happening here and now. The psychosis that we're experiencing, the fear, the worry about insecurity, and all that, it's not actually happening here and now. It's coming from the scripts that we were exposed to and the re-witnessing of what goes on around us through the media and all that, and what goes on in the community around us in system life, where all this is coming from. So that distrust and that sense of loneliness and emptiness and despair and misery and rage and anger, all these emotions are all animated, because you don't learn this in nature. Nature doesn't teach us to behave like this. It's a learnt behavior that comes out of the alphabet languages derived from bloodletting and blood libel through ritual sacrifice. And I'm not joking about this. And I've covered this in other videos going through the Love for Life stuff. You'll see how this thing works. There's no joke about that. This is serious stuff. Emotions are manufactured, all of them, and there's many of them. So to conquer that means that you reclaimed who you are. You're back to a dream that you've created uniquely, where that full responsibility of that good heart with all its consciousness is the sun that shines outwards over the responsibility of the dream of life that you care for. And if you don't want to return to that, then even what I'm talking about, kingdom, won't work, because kingdom is about being that sun that shines and shining outwards all the time, where we're busy as the creativity of life, as the bees to the hive, the ants to the colony, the birds to the flock, etc., etc. It's a natural thing. It's built into all of us. And in there, we are the doctor. We are the judge. We are the jury. We are everything of the system that acts as prosthetics for what we gave up, for what we put to sleep, because we truly have gone asleep. We don't remember who we are. So the fiction, you need to comprehend and to recognize it for what it is. If we are able to then break away from it and return to that super intelligence, where we can walk away from limited responsibility, we walk away from passing the buck and blaming others and acting out victim mentalities and all these other things which operates in the animation that we've been taught to behave like, where there's no full responsibility. You follow that? So the good heart, it quashes, it neutralizes, it absorbs all forms of victim mentalities, all forms of blame that we've all been caught up with and practiced 24/7 as from childhood. And we default by proxy that so simply, it's so quick. We've got to learn to slow it down so we can see it for what it is and stop doing it. So it is a surrender, it's a sacrifice. It truly is a letting go, letting go. and be with other brothers and sisters who dream to live this way. And you have to have a good bullshit detector as well to make sure that the people in our case, who we let into this community thing, that they're coming with those real pure and sincere intentions, and they're acting with that responsibility, that full responsibility. So, Johnny, we can do another 200 video podcasts, and we can go from, I'm 68 now, we can go to I'm 98, and you can go to wherever you are now to your 80 or whatever, and nothing will have changed. And we'll still be talking about it. We'll still be on the bridge of observation over all of life and watching chaos stop. The only way we stop it all is to get off the bridge, get out of that river, and start living it, start being it. Be the living freedom, be the living joy, the living hope. Take that responsibility and don't let anything come in to take it away from us or from you or from anyone. Live it, be it. Now that's the challenge, to use the system to get out of the system, to reinforce a small tribe or village, to have all that infrastructure in place. I'm not saying we should just drop it all and become bare naked again, because that is such a huge transition. And I don't know whether even I'm up for that at this point. So we've got to do it gradually. Without starting up more and more small fires, we have to be too busy having to put out. So like, in the work that I do, even on Facebook still now, and people who accuse me that I'm some cult leader and all that, I just ignore it all most of the time. I really true, because they don't know, they don't comprehend it, or they're intelligence operatives, whatever, it doesn't matter, or they're confused, doesn't matter. It doesn't make it. These people don't have a remedy, don't have a cure to fix this very thing. So you follow that?
Yeah, from what you say, what I get is we have to become a force for good. Okay, we have been a force for evil for a long time, since birth. We have been indoctrinated, bamboozled, ridiculed, taken for fool. Now, when you step off of that bridge, like you said, step out of the bridge, let go of the rivers of chaos and stuff, and you start implementing real force, that divine force within you, and embodying it also into life around you. Do you think at one point there will be some corresponding force to come and support your action? Because if you become a force for good, you become a force for God. Call it God, divine, whatever freaking name you want to use, the force. You become a force for God. So do you think, of course, God will not play with clowns or fools or people that are not serious with their own life, their gift that they've been given. But if you put value on life, on your own self, on taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, being a force for good, do you think in this world there is something that will come along to help you? Like they say, help yourself and the sky will help you. Aide-toi puis le ciel va t'aider. En français, on dit. So do you think that there will be something coming to support your action if you do good? Do good, and good will follow you.
See,
But do
the
you
thing
think
is,
there is some force behind even your experience, your story? Do you think that, at one point, because you are a force for good, so I'm thinking that, yeah, you're being supported by higher and divine to stay on this path. He shows you sign. He makes stuff happen for you, move people for you. Like there is maybe stuff happening outside of your control to help you. Do you think that's happening, or I'm just like hoping for
well,
something?
again, it's all about the dreams and how pure and sincere they are. If you use the analogy of pure white, and that is the real dream of the heart, that's expanded from the super intelligence of our sensory interaction with life itself, with nature, then there's no drops of black coming into it to confuse us and let that black begin to keep, because with the system, we go from that, as an analogy, we go from that pure white to dropping in lots of little bits of black, and it's like a kid at a shop to a dad. Dad, can I eat that lolly? And Dad, it's only one lolly. I know it's got a little time, but it won't matter, And then another few weeks later is with the mum. Oh, Mum, can I have that lolly? And just, oh yeah, okay, that'll be fine. It won't matter. So another little tiny drop of black goes into the pure white. And when you compound that out by so many other ways we introduce black into our children.
Yeah, yeah.
It becomes the norms, the assimilation, that gradualism. We've learned to accept all kinds of harm doing. And we've learned to realize that sickness and disease is a normal thing too. And we get so caught up fighting and in battles over, with charities, all these fictions and fiction trying to deal with the fictions of sickness and disease, because it is fiction. All of it. And we are dreaming that because it's in our dream. We're putting energy into how we're dreaming it. When I had the 2 weeks sleep in 2012, and I came out of that sleep, and I didn't know where I was, and still don't even know where I was. And I had to relearn my balance and learn to walk. And I discovered that the senses were so heightened, and it was overwhelming for me. It was just too much, what I was experiencing through the senses. I realized that in hindsight, that we all are gifted with that purity, that pure white. And as a dream, we will attract to us exactly what we're putting out there. So what we put out there is our creation coming back at us, because that's what life is for us. That's what all of life. So as whatever we're thinking, it's like we're laying in the system. It's like we are laying the pavers of the yellow brick road down before us that we walk upon, as the Tin Man, as the lion, as the straw man, whatever you call it. And as Dorothy in the red shoes, and it's all in fantasy, illusion, delusion, walking down the yellow brick road, because we're projecting it in our experience in the here and now and creating it. So we walk into the very experience we've created, because we're not conscious of what we're dreaming. We're not conscious of all the black that's been introduced into the white that's made up a character. So unless one becomes fully awakened, and can sense the bigger picture of that pure white. Remember, it's an analogy. We're not going to be able to attract what you're talking about, others who want to come and support a kingdom dream where we use the system, whether it's commerce, money, fiction, labor, tools, whatever, it doesn't matter. That good intention will be drawn to it. Now, everything I've done through the Love for Life work is learning. I've been learning through my own hardships and sufferings, because I didn't realize all the different bits of black I'm still projecting, or at least operating behind the background subliminally in my unconsciousness, in my subconscious, if you want to call it. The doubt, like for example, when we rent, when we have mortgages and that, what's actually going on? There's an uncertainty and a doubt of having the lifetime security of roof over our heads, food on the table, etc., etc. So we've given up our power to be manipulated by the doubt and the uncertainty and the distrust and the fear, etc., etc. And that's why we have the prosthetics of fictions that we call money and commerce and rent and mortgages and leases and all that. And yet we're all standing on land now of what we are, and we all actually have naturally got the pure white of true freedom. Yet we got so much black in mixed in with our pure white that we're slaves animating fiction in a world of fiction where we need government and rules and regulations and all that going on. And all the while, chaos is just everywhere, and suffering is happening everywhere, and there's no way people can seem to stop what's happening. So unless each of us takes back that full responsibility to be that pure white again and be conscious of all the black, and to not have it in our dreaming, it is that purity with the passion that we are projecting out there that we manifest exactly what you're talking about. So I don't live in the doubt that there isn't brothers amongst us who don't have the ability of the good heart to empower a kingdom dream, a kingdom village dream, a real community dream, and make that a living example for others to see with their own eyes. My God, look, that's a pure white dream there. Or they come to learn about what that is. And so, well, let's create that here too. And then it starts to spread everywhere. It's the unconsciousness of the black that's integrated into our pure white that is compromised, because we are calling out for the black to come and play its power with us as well. So we create what makes us compromised. We create what makes us hypocrites. We create what makes us difficult, because it's all in the dreaming that we hold that we're projecting. Now, in the real peace and calm of that 2-week sleep, when I came out of it, it was no different to someone who described the most powerful near-death experience of just absolute peace and joy and calm and purity and all that. Like it was just incredibly tranquil. Not that that's the only time I've ever experienced it, because I've had other epiphanies, things that have happened for me that have shaped the work that I do today, you know. Part of the dreaming that I created when I was 14, 15 years old. And I can talk about stories, things that happened that where I've avoided death, and I don't know how, but it happened. Where I was drowning, and yet I got out of there. And that's that dream, that purity. And I don't have the answers whether it's also accumulated from past life or not, or whether I had done enough already, like my bucket was full with that intention, that purity, that something happened that pulled me out of a rip. I was in Tamarama Beach, which is not far from where my mother lives, in Bronte, Waverley. I was a young man, a really good, strong swimmer, good body surfer, handboard and everything, 6-foot swell, smashing over a low tide rip, pulling out. And I got caught in the washing machine, rip pulling me out, the waves smashing over me. And this went on for like a few minutes. And I just couldn't seem to get out of it. And I reached the point where I was going to give up. I thought I was going to die. And I'm only like 30, 40 meters from the beach, from the shore, but not that far out. And before I knew it, I found my body 30 meters or so, still inside the Tamarama Bay, the beach, in a calmer area away from that. And I don't know how I got there. I truly have no memory recollection at all whatsoever how I got there. So something happened faster than the speed of thought. It shifted the body. Now, I know of other experiences, these things happen, interventions can happen. So I don't take it for granted and say, oh, Jesus did it or God did it or any of that. I just know that we're not alone. And just like I don't have to jump 10 foot across the room to have my next breath, that support, that love, that incredible companionship that life has with me is very strong. In spite of how much damage I carry in this vessel, that has been my teacher to help me learn about the system, and I'm still dealing with it even today. I'm obese. I'm overweight. And I feel like I'm coming to the end of this. I don't have to do this work, because I usually say to people, I've got 1 foot in the dark, 1 foot in the light since 2005, doing all this love flow insight work to work it out and make it real, and be a real experience. I've had to go through everything I've had to experience, you know, large police forces attacking, all kinds of things. The amount of things that were thrown at me of my doing, because I put it out there, because I want to break away from the system. I don't want to be under their authority anymore. I don't want to be a slave, a commercial slave, you know, indentured slave, bound to taxation, all these things are all fiction. And yet here I am 20 years or so later, where I pulled out of the system in 2005, 2006, and I said to my wife, I want to live by the good heart and attracting everything through the good heart and not compromise this anymore. So I went from being someone who was bringing 4,000 a week income, which is like 10,000 today. I had a business and everything. And we had everything. We were set up to be secure for life, to having corruption inside Macquarie Bank and legal firms and that. And so, and people in the Supreme Court, which the way the law worked, stealing everything that I work for. And I was wondering what the hell's going on. What have I done? I haven't broken the peace. I haven't committed a crime. I haven't injured anyone. I've done nothing wrong at all. And yet everything I worked for all those years, over 20 years, was being stolen. And there was no impunity by these people who were doing it. And it went off in my head. Now, I could have gone down the road and looking at killing these people because they thought they had impunity. Well, they don't realize that a man could do things to them. But then I realized I'll be just like them if I was to go down that dark road. And I was very close to doing some pretty serious stuff. But again, I woke up. I don't want to be like them. I'd rather have nothing. And even though my wife is pregnant with the fourth child on the way, and with 3 little girls, I pulled out of the system to deal with this thing, to try. I'm going to get to the bottom of this thing, to find out what is this Achilles heel. Now, I had no book to go to. I had no tongue to tell me. The insights I now share with you all these years later, all the work I've been doing all these years. I'm no savior or messiah. I'm nothing. I'm just a man who's just unwilling to live that dream anymore and be subjugated by that kind of oppression in a covert system of slavery where everything's very subtle and you can't seem to work out what's going on. So what I'm getting at, Jani, my family is still intact, even though we've suffered and there's been trauma amongst us, even trauma that I've created through my own stuff with my children. I know that there's a cure to all these ailments that we all carried, right? So look, I'm just bringing this up because it's important to realize how powerful the companionship we have with life, that super intelligence we have, if we allow it to come back and be part of our life as a constant, as a norm, where we don't push it away, right? So during the Love for Life work from 2005, I discovered that I had been sexually abused many times as a little boy. And I had visions of 5 people doing things to me annually. And I can and all the most terrible stuff. And I grew up in a childhood of extreme screaming and fighting. And I built this burden with my mother in protecting her from my father. So in doing all the Love for Life work, having 1 foot in the dark, 1 foot in the light, everything I needed to know about the truth that I was asking for came to me. I don't own it. I've never gone back and performed in commerce. I've never charged anyone for anything that I do. I give everything away for free all this time since I started Love for Life. The only thing I dream for is that that I will attract people who want to send gifts to support the dream, which became Kingdom, the Do No Harm community. And that's the only way it's going to grow. And I knew that if it doesn't happen in this way, then we're all going to be in a really bad way. And life as we know, this civilization will be extinct, and we'll be witnessing like all the other civilization where there's no life there anymore. It's just the trees growing back over the remains of the old civilizations that came and went, because they were all fiction as well. So in a nutshell, we're not alone. I'm not saying that there is a God, but there is a super intelligence available as life that is embodied in all of us. We all carry that full responsibility if we allow it. And we are that godliness. But this is not an exclusivity or privilege. This is not about a first and last, high and low and all that. It's just we carry the wisdom of the Creator, the living Creator as man. Now, I had the living Creator come into my life in 1979, and it was androgynous. It wasn't male or female. And all the colors of life and wholeness in its eyes and around its head and neck and the rest faded into the ether. It was the most glorious near-death experience I could ever describe, coming out of a sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, witnessing this. It didn't ask anything, didn't tell me I had to do anything, nothing. It was just this incredible feeling. And the beauty and the peace and the calm is just, and the gold and the yellow and the white. I couldn't even paint it. I've never seen anything like it. And that was 1979. I'm in my early 20s. And then I had other experiences, other epiphanies had happened in 2006 around the time when Macquarie Bank switched the contracts. And that led to what in today's value would be like $6 million plus stolen from me. And that set me off on the journey of Love for Life. Now, here I am, working with those gifts that came from people who were sincere at the time of giving those gifts to build this Kingdom Village dream. I've not got back in the system to perform in commerce all this time. My wife had to do the best she could because she had no business experience. So she was getting Centrelink parenting payments using her name, the signature, so that we had some money coming in until the gifts started rolling in through the Love for Life work and the website around 2007, 2008. Because the first 6 months a year, we had empty pantry cupboards. It was incredibly challenging. But it's just because of my history and the way I thought, whatever triggered, I decided, and I knew I was not alone. I'm going to take these people on. I want to find out what their Achilles heel is and do it. So that became the kingdom dream. Now I know what the remedy is. And now I've got to realize this is no longer an us and them. And we never brought up our children to be us and them. We let our children go and integrate in mainstream. We didn't homeschool. We want our children to embrace the bigger picture of the system. So they had peace with that, no conflict in them about it for now. While they were witnessing what I was doing, with all the people coming out of the house for those first 13 years, 14 years of the Love for Life work. It is because of that companionship with the dream of life, you can call it God, whatever, that has been present to my experience and the support I needed, where basically every step of my life was walking on the dream of that love for life that came to my life. So I didn't have to fall off and down into the abyss of the system of hell. I was able to avoid it all. Yet there was no evidence that I shouldn't have gone down and brought all my family down with it. We're still here. We're still going.
You
I
said
raised 4 daughters with my wife and I. We raised 4 daughters in all of this. So just to end it, this little bit. That experience at Tamarama Beach, and I've had so many others, we are not alone. And when we get past the doubt, get past the uncertainty, when we can live as we breathe in the here and now, and know it and be it, you get living it, it's truly living it, the power of everything starts happening. Already is happening, and you're conscious of the opportunities as they come, and you work with that. Because while you're asleep, opportunities can come, you don't even notice them, they just go past, and you don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about arrogance and righteousness and all that. It's got nothing to do with any of the emotional stuff. This is truly, we live as we breathe. I don't have to jump 10 foot across the room to grab my next breath. It's already taken care of. And all of life is already taking care of everything. Life is my companion, but there's a super intelligence, and there are many souls of life. Now, this is another one. I've had multiple of these type of experiences. I don't know why. Yesterday, I'm sitting in the kitchen making a lunch for my wife and I was thinking about Linda Eastman, Paul McCartney's life at the time, before Wings and after. And I was thinking about it. It's happening again. I had this massive goosebumps come all over my body. All over my body. It was like waves of this energy. And I was just saying to Linda, glad to meet you. Now, that sounds wacko, but it's not. It was the soul of her. She was a good woman. I don't know her. I just know she was a good woman. Very good heart. When Diana Spencer was dying, she came into my body. And she says to me, I've been so sorry for letting you down. And I'm up in the Blue Mountains in a cabin taking stuff out of the boot of a Subaru, of a Saab, convertible Saab that I still have in storage. It's my horseless chariot. And I'm saying to Fiona, you're not going to believe this. Diana Spencer's talking to me. I don't know. And I'm with the royal family. It's my finger down the back of the road, vomit, vomit, vomit. That's how I think about all these people. But I felt her presence all through my whole body. Now, I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm sure that others would have experienced it. And it took me a long time, because that was like 1997 or something. And it took, through the Love for Life experience, that I got to see that we're not alone. That good heart, that consciousness is in many of us. I even had the experience when I was watching the Zapruder film of JFK's assassination. And I was watching closely, and I knew there was something close to Jacqueline Kennedy with the gun. And the voice came out, and again, all that goosebumps, everything started happening to me. Everything I experienced with that 1979 Face of God, when I got all the goosebumps and joy and elation, and I got the same experience with JFK talking to me. Now, or something talking to me. And it says, what you're seeing is the truth. So even though the scripts are different, it seems to me that the fatal shot that blew his head out was done by Jacqueline herself. I'm not joking when I'm saying this. This is really, and the piece of the original Zapruder film, you can look carefully, you can see this going on, where she took it behind his head and blew his head out. Not that there weren't other people fighting from the. So I'm not sitting around living my life out of that. I'm going out promoting all this and saying this is what's happened. That's just an experience that I had, and I'm not going to judge anyone about this, and I'm not going to hold anything against Jacqueline because I don't know Jacqueline or anything about what happened then. But something the Maestro has not told us about the truth of what happened to JFK that day. And I could go on with many other people who've come into my life and communed with me. We're not alone. Every time I've needed something, it's there, faster than the speed of thought. And I'm talking about multi-thousands of those kind of moments, multi-thousands of them, where I've been dealing with law enforcement or I've been dealing with this and that. And it always comes with a good heart. And it always comes with inclusion. Even when Fiona was kidnapped by a police officer called David Brown out of the Barrel police station, he was sent in to intimidate her, to threaten us because of what we were doing back then in 2009. I offered him my life. Here, you can kill me, take it. I had my daughter with me, my youngest daughter with me. And that love is not premeditated. It's something that just truly takes you over in the moment. And it broke him down. I watched this man break down. And this is a known intimidated by the community. People know he gets sent in to do pretty nasty work. And that guy was turned into a dormouse. And 2 days later, he came to our house with paperwork because he wanted to serve him on Fiona. And he was the most timid dormouse you'd ever meet. And I said to him, David, you're not our problem. We've got nothing against you or your family. But who you're working for and what you're representing is the issue here. And that's all I managed. And then he just walked away. And then I saw it 2 weeks later or so. He's there in the road behind us where we lived in East Barrel, at a street corner of 2 roads, with his kids waiting for the bus to come and other kids. And then I read in the paper he's having to do 2 weeks community service because what I did to him and what I did with the police sergeant at the station about what he was doing and all that crap. And the police sergeant, I then saw him in the Coles. I was in Coles and I saw him and he had his kids with him and he had a smile on his face and I had a smile on his face and it was really sincere. And yet here are these authorities that represent a threat. And I felt absolute love for them, real forgiveness and kindness. And none of that has affected us. None of it has held us back. It kept us doing everything we're here to do with this Love for Life work, which is the Kingdom Village Dream. So I could go on and on and on about these kind of events. So yes, the answer is yes. If your dream is pure and your intention is sincere, you will attract exactly that. Okay. Because that's what life gives you with free will. We have truly free will. So I'm not saying a Messiah will come along with a magic wand and just wipe out all our choices. I don't know about that side of it. I find it, why would we give up our free will? Why are we not living by the consequences of our own decisions that we make? And what kind of God is it that will just wipe all that out? We have to change it. We've got to use our own. So hence, the way I approach it, Zhanik, be a living example. I'm a fat Greek wog, a damaged fat Greek wog. But I know where the line is drawn with fiction and all the emotions, and never to cross that line and play it out with anyone else. Even though other people may come and they're still used to crossing the line and playing out the stuff, I won't do it. I used to try. If people try to threaten me, I would do something about it. I was not intimidated by people, how big they were, whatever they were. I've never got intimidated by that stuff. But I came to learn that the good heart is so powerful. You can be it's like that, that scene of that one Chinese guy in Tiananmen Square with all the tanks coming at him, and he's waving this thing on his arm, all these massive tanks coming, and they all stopped, and he's just doing this. I'll never forget that. It was just what we're capable of is incredible. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know anything about that. But
what about the balance? Because you said from 2005 you had this step, you had a foot in the dark and a foot in the light. Now a lot of people I heard talk about balance, keeping a balance, because I always find myself, no matter what, having to pay my electricity bill, my rent, my groceries. I'm trying not to be too gross in that domain, but yeah, sometimes it's very gross what you can find in that store. So just paradise. But anyway, how important it is for us to remain in that balanced position, to not tip too much into the dark and too much into the light? Or should we really tip the balance into the light side? And,
absolutely, because all that balance continues harm. All that balance is allowing harm to continue. Go back to the 1 pen analogy that I've used, or look at the ant colony analogy, or even the magic carpet ride analogy. There's been quite a few analogies we've come up with that you can find in our Love for Life website. Is that while we want one little bit of the system of that darkness, we have to invite it all into our life. We accept it all, because that one little bit can't work with all the other bits of the darkness, which includes taking children and educating them and turn them into blue collars, white collars, slave laborers, and perform all the roles of the system wheels of progress. That to have your 1 pen, you got to go to a mountain. Someone has to go and survey the mountain, who can't sense the purpose of the living things there, who then organize all the machines to come in and start ripping open that mountain. Got to build the roads into that mountain. All this life is being destroyed all the way to create the fiction of 1 pen. We need all this other fiction. And then the roundabouts and the street lights and the police and the shops and the bank tellers and the accountants, and there's a whole machine of thousands and thousands and thousands of brothers and sisters all working for this nightmare, so we can have this 1 pen that we want. Because without all that harm, you can't have that 1 pen. It's the same as
1
the AI.
pen. Imagine
just
if
one,
you want to
just one.
Imagine if you want to buy a yacht.
It's the same thing. It's the same with AI.
Arm.
It's the same with AI that we talked about the other day. The pyramid, and AI is at the top. But you need all the ascending building blocks of through history, from the alphabet languages and all the constructs and concepts of fiction, and the evolution of that progress of civilization, to reach a point now where we can have AI. So AI can't even begin to happen without all that precedence, all those descending building blocks that formed the artificial intelligence. Now, the thing is, the artificial intelligence at the top is just mirroring the artificial intelligence at the bottom. So all the read and write alphabet languages and all the constructs and concepts that formulated all the different fictions that we manufactured is all artificial too, which means that everything about that whole pyramid is alien. And we are the aliens. It's not some aliens from another world. It's all bullshit. We are the aliens. We are so alien to life itself and its true purpose because we gave up the full responsibility to be that and to live that. And we allow that to spread out amongst us and do what we do, and doing harm to everything. And it's normal. It's the way it is. And you just got to survive and get on with it. So we have our dictators, and we have our presidents, and we have our prime ministers, and we have our CEOs, and on it goes. When you don't need any of it, but you've got to let it all go. So it's not about finding a balance, because that's duality. And it's the duality that allows the river of chaos to keep flowing under the bridge that we're observing all this harm. And the scale of harm everywhere. It's because of this pyramid that we all got caught up in, with the all-seeing eye at the top. Because that's the fake personality that we've become, that we use in system life, in performing the languages and the communications and all the constructs and concepts that we carry around in our vessel, our commercial vessel, in doing commercial business with everybody else. where people are stock commodities on the stock market. Their identity is treated as cattle, or what they call goy, or useless food eaters, where people are subjugated to haves and have-nots, and where people are subjugated to first and last and rich and poor. If you want to give it all up and stop this harm, so you can hold such a big picture as wide as you can hold it, where there's no harm in it. And if all of us work together to live like this, we will stop it all. And we don't need any kind of harm happening anymore. You don't need to be subjugated by the fiction of tax. You don't have to slave labor for years and years, having to pay off 3 houses just to have one. And then you're exhausted, and your life is expent with so much energy. And you've gone to wars, or your parents have gone to wars, your great-grandparents have gone to wars to fight over these fictions that was all absolute rubbish. Because it is. Because all we've done is killed each other, constructs and concepts going together, as in Christendom and Mohammedanism, and on it goes to Islam and Judaism, and all these constructs and concepts in conflict. So we've got chaos, chaos and chaos and chaos and chaos, rich and poor, first and last, and on it goes, chaos and chaos. And it's all that chaos of the river flowing under the bridge we're observing. If you want to stop it, you've got to give it all up, which is what's been happening to me. I have 1 foot in the system, but I have 1 foot in the dream of life. But I only did it because I talk and write, and with my wife communicate images, concepts, whatever, to try and help people see what's going on. I can't change anybody. I can't drag anyone into what people claim is a cult, because anyone tries to follow me, I burn them off. This is not about being followed. It's about taking full responsibility. So, I mean, this is covered in, through the back catalogs of all our videos and stuff we've done with you, and our own ones that we've made. That's in that YouTube channel that we use. So we have to be conscious. Shani, you reach the point where you have it in you to create a dream and build a community around you of brothers and sisters, if you're up for that, if that's what you are dreaming for. I'm not saying you have to. This is what I'm doing. And through that support network, now, in the transition of using the system to get out of the system, I've had a bunch of close friends who always helped us when we needed extra dollars to get us through for whatever, or deal with whatever we were dealing with. Now, that has consistently happened since 2005, 2006, or when things started changing around 2007. And here I am, still out of the system completely. And gifts still come in. And people can become psychotic. And things can go wrong. And they want their money back and all that. Well, it doesn't work like that. Because the dream that attracted people to is the dream I hold and I'm responsible for. And I will look after that dream in case, and regardless of how much. Just because, it's the same with Earth. We're gifted Earth. We're gifted nature. And that full responsibility that was passed down to us through our great ancestors long ago was to protect it and nurture, care for it, not to wreck it and destroy it. So in that same way, we are the caretakers, custodians, and stewards of a living dream. In this case, I call it kingdom, a local village where, where we don't live with the system and all the constructs and all that anymore. That we learn to let it go. We have to practice doing it. So there is a building a bridge. We have to cross that bridge. And then when we've crossed that bridge, and we've all practiced it 24/7, how to live the kingdom way, we burn the bridge. So the system's completely all gone. But we do not let that system stuff be recreated amongst us in the village, where we continue playing out all that stuff, all that emotional stuff. So you have the capacity to create a dream yourself, Johnny, and do it in Canada, in Montreal. Or you can move your family, if your family are up for it, to go wherever, to be with another bunch of people. If you follow your heart, listen, and rat out the bullshit and all that, and make it happen, because we have that in us to do it.
Yeah, I think that's where we find peace too in nature, and we find tranquility, and we find ourselves, and we find others also that are like us in nature. So yeah, definitely. If you go within the system to find others, you'll find deeply fucked up people, definitely. So
True,
you
but
better, huh?
true because but the thing is, at some point we have to stop talking about it
Yeah.
and thinking about it, imagining it. We got to start living it and being it, which is different. Be that real freedom, live that real freedom, be that real joy and happiness. Allow it all just to come up naturally by busy in the creativity, because the system doesn't want you to have that freedom for you to have that natural creativity. You have to go and make money. So you got to go and do system life jobs. And you get distracted by all of that. And with the dollar not being worth a dollar anymore, it's becoming harder and harder for the younger generations to even break away from this, unless they work together in groups and support each other. Now, I'm not talking about communism here or communalism as such, because that's all white-handing what I'm talking about from the heart. When you do with things the good heart, you don't end up with Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin and all this kind of stuff. You don't end up with capitalism, which is no different to communism, because capitalism and communism are one and the same. In fact, socialism is the same thing again. They're all the same.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if to break away from all of that, you have to have some tenacity. So you've got to know who you are, and to know that I'm not going to give in to any kind of persuasion from fiction, from others who want to use intimidation and threats,
So
because
it's
that's
like
all people.
totalitarianism, but with different name.
Yeah, exactly. To do it from your heart. Once you know who
Arthur,
you are.
thank you very much for your full presence and power again. I'm going to have to end that stream because I'm live again in 40 minutes with Frank. So I have to come back on live with Frank for another
Okay. Thank you.
reflection with him. But if you want to come forward again, you're more than welcome. I have other
We'll
stuff
see.
for you if you want. See with
We'll
your
see.
schedule what you can do and
Well, if
stuff.
we
But
are going to
I'll
do
be
anything, it'll have to be pretty in a very small window now. Like, maybe we do another one later this week or something, and whatever. If it
up
and
to you.
until we
I have
finish it. 'Cause-
other stuff written here that we haven't gone through. So if you
okay.
can enlighten us more and more, it's more than welcome. And that's what we want. Enlighten us because we want the light side of you, which is what you're dipping towards now, more than the dark.
Just
So yeah, definitely.
Johnny, I just want to. There's just one more thing on my list. I just want to get this off my shoulders. Is that the responsibility I carry from everyone who's gifted things to this man for the dream that I live for, that has me be the way I am, is such that I don't let everything that's been gifted to it go. I hold it because it's part of what helps the dream to blossom. If I
Just
had
like
any
we
doubt
hold
on
on to
certain,
life. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I don't give that up. So it's the same. So that's the way I am until that kingdom dream is in full visual evidence by brothers and sisters living it, and where that baton of responsibility is passed on to everyone of that kingdom dream as a team effort. I carry that responsibility. So all the gifts given to this dream, everything, everything, I'm responsible to hold it for the dream so that the dream can thrive and grow.
After
That's
all,
how I look at it. I
life
don't
is
want
a
to give.
gift. So you should receive gift. So,
Yeah.
large up, Arthur, I'm going to end the stream and stay with me for a little minute or two. We'll chit
Okay.
chat together.
Bye,
Boom.
everyone.
See ya. We're logging out. It was a pleasure.